The off lane is one interesting lane. Either you usually hate it or you love it. Here in version 42 doesn't seem to be much different. So here are the gems and cards that should really help you out. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a version 42 guide. I am Sylphin. So we're going through all the cards and gems here that are great for the off lane. Remember, any affinity, any hero, that's a big thing here. Now the first card that I could recommend for the off lane is Advanced Evolution. For 1 knowledge, you gain the passive Restorative Learning. Restore 5% max health and 5% max mana per second for 3 seconds after leveling up. Now, obviously in the offlane, you gain a tremendous amount of hero level, meaning you're going to be leveling up more often than a lot of other lanes. That 5% is 5% health and mana turn into 15%. It could definitely be something that you consider, especially being knowledge. You're maybe putting it on a more caster sort of hero that can definitely use the health and mana, maybe like an Iggy and Scorch. Now, before we get more into the cards, what are some great gems? And really, to be honest with you, the only one I recommend pretty much would be Healing Towers. Gain 1.4 health regen, 1 mana regen while near structures. You have to be on the pad, like in the tower itself. And that also works on enemy towers as well. You're going to be on your tower a lot. And as a caster, you can really use that mana regen for the wave clear. And if you're melee too, well, you still have your abilities that you can use to great effect. So Healing Towers is really the only one I recommend, simply because the auto mana potion and the auto health potion, they don't seem to be overly worthwhile. It's not that much mana, it's not that much health. Yeah, it's every minute, it's every minute or faster, but still, I think that you would get much more value out of Healing Towers. Now, it's really hard for me to recommend any slot 7 gems, just because, well, you're not farming that much, likely, so getting a slot 7 gem to actually be useful in the off lane, it's arguable. You could compound the experience you're getting in lane by getting the experience gem to get even more, or you can help with your with kind of the natural deficit of being in the off lane by getting wealthy and increasing that gold. Try to catch up from being so behind in the gold department in the off lane. So that's kind of hard for me to recommend being slot 7, but those two could be worthwhile. Now back to the cards. This is a really cheap card that could get some good use. Armored Footman, 1 vitality, and you have a 20% chance to reduce basic damage taken by 50. In the early game, that's almost completely negating the basic attack of the enemy duo, so it is an idea. You can think of the 20% and 50 as more of a 100% 10. If you average out the damage mitigation, it's kind of like you're reducing all damage taken by 10, almost. Obviously, it's not how it works, but in the math department, when averages, you can think of it like that. That 10 damage mitigation all the time, that's serious. That is quite a substantial amount, and that works against minions as well. So, you know what? Armored Footman, through testing, may prove very fruitful. Another very, very worthwhile card here that can prove very fruitful, literally, is Coin Master. It's called a Wealthy passive. Gain 8 bonus gold every 10 seconds, no matter what. But it's increased to 16 bonus gold while out of combat. In the off lane, you spend a lot of time just kind of sitting there, dodging attacks and just kind of absorbing experience. This could be how you kind of counter the fact that you're not getting last hits. 16 bonus gold every 10 seconds, I can tell you from experience, this adds up really nicely. Another good damage mitigation card here is Exoskeleton. 1 vitality, reduce damage taken from enemy heroes by 8. So while the previous card was a 20% chance to reduce by v50, this one also works on abilities. So reduce damage taken from everything an enemy hero can do to you by 8. May or may not be worth it, especially if you're talking about like twin blast grenades and stuff like that that can really poke you down. Exoskeleton has some serious potential to really bring some good sustain. Well, damage mitigation technically. Now, if you really like economy cards like I do, you can compound the already tremendous amount of experience you get with Font of Experience. For 1,000 gold, you put it on and you gain 4 experience every 10 seconds. This really adds up. Probably more so than the Wealthy passive on a couple of cards back. This one, you know, you could very much compound the added experience you're already getting, especially if you're a caster that really synergizes well with more hero levels. This could very much be worth it. Now, this one's iffy and would definitely be only for ranged offlaners. It's called Highwayman. For 1,000 gold, you can get 75 gold whenever you deal damage to a hero, at least every 15 seconds. So if you're ranged, you can just kind of pop up, do a basic attack, draw the enemy minions into your tower, which can help you eliminate that wave, and you can get gold from it. As to how much you want to do this, I don't know, but it is a way to kind of mitigate the fact that you aren't getting very many last hits. Living Guardian is a bit of a chancy card. Living Guardian gives you basic armor for 10 seconds, stacking every time you land a basic attack. So you can get 20 basic armor when you dive into the enemy duo. Try to get something. Try to secure a kill, or your jungler comes and ganks. So when you engage, maybe you can get some damage mitigation. There's probably better cards, but I thought I would show this to you. Another similar card, but instead of giving you damage mitigation, it gives you damage, is Poised Aggressor. For 1 agility, you gain 15 basic damage for 4 seconds after entering combat. So this does 2 things. Yes, when you dive the enemy duo and when to help out your jungler gank and stuff like that, you gain that basic damage, but it also helps you when the minion wave comes into your tower and you try to clear it. You'll gain some basic damage to kind of help you clear that wave a little bit faster. Those 2 scenarios are very common in the offlane, so Poised Aggressor may be for you if you like aggressive offlaners. Taskmaster is a card I would love to see done well in the offlane. 1,000 gold to gain a active, sacrifice an allied minion, and regenerate health equal to 10% of its current health. Now, why am I recommending this? Because the cooldown is 100 seconds, and yeah, that's pretty long. But siege minions are actually much more frequent here in version 42. They've kind of changed how the minion waves work. That is almost enough for you to clear the siege minion every time it comes up against the enemy duo. So you're basically not only getting the health of that minion, which is a lot because they're the big siege minions, but you're starving them of nice juicy XP, which is pretty serious. It's interesting. I don't know I'm not sure if I could pull it off or if it would actually mean much in the lane overall, but it is an option. Now, if you really want to defend your tower to clear those waves and you're a caster, Tireless Reaper may be it. For 1 knowledge, you gain the passive. Your next ability costs 20% less to cast every 10 seconds. So if you're you're a Gideon and you want to drop those Cosmic Rifts to help clear the lane, there you go. If you're an Scorch, you want to drop down your turret, then there's 20% less cost. It is an idea if you really want to hold off that lane. The Tower Strider is pretty darn cool. For 1 vitality, you get the passive of increased movement speed when near structures. So if you want to zip around your tower, kind of dive dive in and out, you know, kind of jump forward to the enemy duo and kind of do some damage, and then jump back and clear your minion waves and kind of be elusive. It is, you know, some people I did hear actually really liked it in the offlane. A great sustain card here is Green Spring. 3 vitality to gain 20 basic armor, perfect for against the enemy duo, and you get 8.4 health regen while out of combat. That is a ridiculous amount of health regen that you can, well, since you'll be out of combat a lot of the time, you'll just be able to have tremendous sustain in that offlane. With the Healing Towers gem, you can certainly combine that to great effect, but maybe that's too much health regen, to be honest with you. So it's always a toss-up. Do you get the Healing Towers, maybe something else, you know, because you have to get 3 points first in order to equip this card. It's kind of up to you. You know, do you need this by the time you get three attribute points? But it's definitely a strong card regardless. Now, a great early game damage card here is Pack Leader. 1 agility, 2 knowledge to gain 8 power. That's pretty good here in the early game. But Bullseye. Mark an enemy. Nearby allied minions will attack that target for 30 seconds. Why do you want this in the offlane? Well, usually the offlaners want to push with their siege minion. So, when your siege minion comes up, what you do is you mark the enemy carry, the enemy support, something like that, and and your minions will chase them to the ends of the earth, at least for 30 seconds, giving you time to clear the wave, to maybe kill that marked enemy. It's really interesting. I really want to try this in the offlane, as, you know what, you can really screw up the enemy offlaners, you know, trying to slow push it or trying to build up a minion wave, something like that. It could really screw them up. Now, if you're playing the early game strategy that Death does offer you with the Cursed attribute in its affinity, this is the card to go for. 3 vitality, 6 power, and 120 health. That's a ton of stats for a card you can never equip because you're playing the early game. You're banking on winning the game in the early game. You also get 12.5 health regen. Insane amount of health regen. So you can just stay on the battlefield, sustain in the offlane, try to get last hits, try to get kills, etc., and win in the early game. Sandspeeder here is a card you may want as an offlaner. 3 agility to gain a little bit of attack speed for a DPS boost, but the passive, it can certainly help you rotate or just dodge attacks or help you engage on the enemy duo. Increase movement speed by 8%. But when you are attacked or you do attack, that is reduced to 4%. So you always gain a 4% movement speed boost, but sometimes you get another 4% for a total of 8%. It is an option if if you're going to want to rotate a lot as a mid laner, or you just want to be elusive. Sandspeeder's it. Soldier of Fortune is an interesting knowledge card for your knowledge offlaners. 100 mana, 1 mana regen for some good sustain, but the active can also help in that department. It also help eliminate the enemy minion wave, but also help with your farm as well. 75 mana every 90 seconds, so every time a siege minion's around, destroy that siege minion, preferably, instantaneously, and gain 150 bonus gold and 30 experience. Basically, you can really hurt the enemy duo from gaining that siege minion. You just boop, kill it for some extra gold and extra experience, and you get some good mana and mana regen, so you can really push back that lane. Now here's a card that can sort of deal with the fact that you don't get much farm. Growth Totem here is 4,500 gold. It's kind of expensive, but you gain 0.8 power and 15 max health every minute. This effect has no limit. So, you know, just by being on the map, you can gain power and max health. And you don't need to last hit. You don't need to do anything. You just need to stay alive. Synergizing very well with what the offlane's all about. Now here's a bit of a stretch for an offlane card, but it could work. Brilliant Fortifications, 1,000 gold and 4 knowledge to gain 12 power, 1 mana regen. But the active is really interesting. Protect structures. All allied structures are immune to damage for 6 seconds. 75 gold, 75 mana, pardon me, every 90 seconds, which is every siege minion, you can protect your structures. So, you know, if the enemy duo is pushing into your tower every time there's a siege minion, which they should, boom, you can protect it at least for 6 seconds, and that works with everybody else's lane as well. So not only is maybe your tower's getting pushed, another lane's tower is probably getting pushed as well. Boom, you can protect 2 structures with this 1 card. We've kind of reached the end of really strict off-lane cards that will really help you in the off-lane during that first laning phase. All of these cards now are just kind of good cards that you may use when you are in lane, or just kind of when you rotate as an off-laner. So Finder of Playthings here is kind of a knowledge-based card. 2 vitality, 4 knowledge, 10 power, 1 mana regen, to target enemy heroes to reduce attack speed by 30, preferably use that on the carry, and move speed by 100 for 2.5 seconds. In addition, though, you also reveal all enemy heroes on the map for 6 seconds to kind of see if you can continue with the gank, kind of dive into the tower perhaps. 75 mana every 90 seconds. So when you have ganks, when you gank, that can really, really help. Another good option for when you are rotating as a offlaner is Veil Stepper. We all have heard this as it's been teased for quite some time. 4 agility, 2 vitality, 8 health regen, gonna help you in the offlane, and 18 basic armor. Maybe you are a defensive sort of brawler bruiser offlaner. Smokescreen, enter the shadow plane for 3 seconds after passing through a fog wall with an internal cooldown of 5 seconds. So when you rotate as the offlaner, you can make sure you go through a fog wall. You can exit a fog wall right before you initiate on the enemy team. So Veil Stepper could definitely be a good offlane card. Now, just because you start at a deficit in the money department in the offlane, these growth type of empowering cards, I really can't help but recommend. 2 vitality, 5 knowledge for Apex Predator, 10 power, 14 attack speed, so you're maybe a little bit more of a damage type offlaner. Empowering Strikes grants a stack of 0.6 power when damaging enemy heroes, stacking up to 50 times. At maximum stacks, gain 18 ability armor, which can help in the tanky department, with obviously some good damage as well. Hey, if you can pull it off, if you can just make sure to damage a hero as much as you can, up to 50 times, you can really counteract the fact that you are at a loss of gold in the early game. Now, if you are an off-lane split pusher like a Wukong, Flag Bearer, pretty much mandatory. 7 agility, 29 attack speed, exactly what that guy wants, and gain 2 passives. Minion Elite Leader Aura. Nearby friendly minions gain 150 max health and 40 movement speed, so they go even faster. And minions buff me. Gain 25 basic damage when near an allied minion. That's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So Flag Bearer, hey, if you're a split pushing offlaner, just split pushing hero in general, Flag Bearer is a must. Now, I just quickly want to point this one out because there are really good offlane heroes, and one of those heroes is Zinx. Pensive Shaman, absolutely, like, it's literally mandatory for her. 2 vitality, 5 knowledge, 240 health, 1 mana regen, and you will regenerate health equal to 20% of mana restored. Basically, absolutely mandatory on Zinx. I just wanted to throw that in there. Another good split pushing card here is Swamp Stalker. 7 agility, 13 power, 11 attack speed, and the Isolate passive. Deal 35 bonus basic damage to enemy units without a nearby ally. Hey, you're gonna be all alone all the time. You're gonna be split pushing. I mean, 35 bonus basic damage is a lot of power because heroes apparently have 1 power scaling. That's basically 35 power, straight up. Basically that. It's just basic damage. So yeah, if you're going to be alone, split pushing and you're definitely going to be able to, with this card, gain some help in killing anybody that tries to stop you. Another great split pushing card here is Swift Hunter. For 7 agility, you gain 10 power, 15 attack speed, and the Executioner's Rush passive. Gain 125 move speed, pretty good amount, for 10 freaking seconds after killing an enemy unit. So what this is going to do is not only can you maybe use that move speed in an engagement and kind of outmaneuver and win a 1v1, you'll also be able to push into the next minion wave faster. And especially, you're going to be able to rotate much faster. So you can kill an enemy unit, be killing the minion wave, be like, okay, I gotta rotate now. Boom, kill an enemy unit, gain 125 move speed for 10 seconds as you rotate over. 10 seconds, pretty much exactly the amount of time you need to get to at least the mid lane. Maybe not so much if it's way across on the other side of the map. Swift Hunter, good card. Yet again, another good split pushing card here, Thunder Cleaver. It's normal Thunder Cleaver from previous version 42. 17 power, 22 basic armor. You get the cleave passive, increased cleave damage by 50%, and the active, the Whirlwind. Deal 100% basic attack damage to nearby enemy units every 30 seconds, costs 50 mana. So, like, you can turn anybody into an insane split pusher with this, and yeah, get some good burst out of there with the Whirlwind active as well. Battle Shepherd here is probably the penultimate card for split pushers. 9,000 gold, which is reduced for every point you put into Vitality, and nearby allied minions gain 10 health regen and 6 power. The effect is disabled, however, if another hero is nearby. So really, you're just kind of making sure your minion wave is healthy, kills the enemy minion wave quickly, and by the time another hero comes by to either help you or kill you, at least they're topped up and we're given that power. And now for the ultimate split pushing card, Awaken the Emmerich. 4 Vitality, 6 Knowledge, 17 Power, and 8 Health Regen with the Toxic Horde active. Convert all nearby minions to your team, grant all nearby minions Death Touch and Drain Life. 150-second cooldown for 100 mana. This is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Put this card along with the other split pushing cards, and you're going to have Death Touch, Drain Life, gigantic minion wave with more power, more health regen, that move quicker, like absolutely insane. So this on a Wukong, any split pusher, my god. And finally we get to a not necessarily a split push card here, Shadow Dancer. 14 power, 24 basic armor for the Shadow Ambush active. As an offlaner, yeah, you have to deal with your lane every once in a while, but then you also have to rotate. This will really help with that. Enter the Shadow Plane and gain 50 movement speed for 15 seconds. Attacking an enemy from the Shadow Plane after you gank and after you've kind of rotated applies a 400 movement speed slow for 1 second. You can use it every 35 seconds. So to get to a gank, or to rotate, you can use it, and then to rotate back, you can also use it again. Obviously, I don't have to tell you how phenomenal this is on like an offlane Aurora. Anybody that can just kind of show up and boom, there's their influence. Absolutely incredible. Yomi Guardian is a pretty interesting card. 3 agility, 9 vitality, 12 power, 300 health, 36 basic armor. So for good brawler bruiser, you get area defense. Nearby allied units, heroes and minions gain 100% chance to block 50 basic damage for 8 seconds. 80 mana on an 80-second cooldown. Now remember, in version 42, DPS and overall damage output is more about base damage, not necessarily about crit, as crit has been tailored back, and base damage and attack speed has been increased. So that block 50 basic damage is really significant for a very long time. 8 seconds is an eternity here in version 42. So this, a good way to push into an inhibitor, into a tower, and really keep your allied units, heroes, and minions with a little bit of damage mitigation. Great card for split pushing even as well. Now, it's starting to get hard to recommend certain cards for offlaners because it depends on what hero you are, what kind of hero you are, what your team needs it to do, if you're a split pusher or not. It's really hard. So I'm trying some of the ones I could maybe recommend a little bit more than others. One of the Tribe is one of those if you are going to rotate to your team more so than split push. 10 agility, 3 vitality, 22 power, and 420 health to gain 15 power for each nearby allied hero. Obviously, this is for, you know, the Greystones that set the lane and then rotate over and be a part of the fight. Obviously, not so much for Wukong, as bent on split pushing like a ton. And that's about it for the offlane, guys, as a lot of cards are just either good for your hero, good for your kind of hero, good for a certain gameplay, and I try to maybe get some of those mid-game and late-game cards that are maybe more so great for offlaners in general. Of course, there's going to be tons more cards that are awesome, but I tried my best to keep it tailored maybe for the offlane. Let me know down in the comments if there's any other cards that you guys see are great in general for offlaners as a whole. It's gonna kind of be hard, but let me know, guys, because I'm sure there are some that I've missed, and I would love to learn from you, and I would love for everybody else to learn from you as well. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, and of course, guys, subscribe. You guys like this content, especially if you found it useful. Please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. If you would like to support me on a regular basis, please head on over to my Patreon account where you can make a pledge to help me do what I love. Till next time, like always, guys, stay optimistic and positive.